Give yourselves a round of applause. Where's my mom? There's Paul and Kara. Stand up, Mom. She was here earlier. She just left. She stepped out. Okay, let's give my mom a round of applause. As much as I speak and teach, she don't get a chance to hear me, so I hope she comes back in the room quite a bit. People think we're sisters, so I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. So my topic is Kingdom Women in Business, being like God's model woman in business. So Sharika said something. How many of you are in business? Let me see your hands. Raise them high. Okay, good. How many of you want to be in business? Let me see your hands. Okay, is that everyone who did? Let me raise your hand if you did not raise your hand. All right, so all of you are either in business or want to be in business, yes? Okay, good. So I want to get started because I'll tell you, today is a full day, and I am also so excited about what I have to share with you. And so today I really want you to look at business as a gift. Say gift. We think of gifts from a place of, she's a teacher, she's gifted in singing. What other gifts you have? Throw some other gifts you have. Writing, dancing, all of this is a gift. I wish I have the ability to decorate. I have no decorating skills in my body in terms of this fabulous experience. But I want you to think of the single most important gift from God is business, entrepreneurship. Many of us see us as business as spiritual, and they see business. Many of us see our gifts as spiritual, and they see business as something secular. They see business as something outside of the kingdom. How many of us have heard people say that? We tend to keep those separate, but God does not separate them. The gift of business is sacred. It's a gift from God that allows us to create, serve, impact lives in the way that, guess what, pastors cannot do alone. So if you have the gift of entrepreneurship, because not everybody does. Some people are quite fine remaining on a job, being an employee, and that's totally fine. My husband will tell you, he don't care about being in business. He wants that steady salary. Steady. He's quite comfortable. So the gift of business is a gift from God. And so I really want you to think of that first step, that first insight. The work you do in business is a kingdom strategy. Now, when I thought about God's model woman in business, I needed to think through a definition. So if you're writing, I want you to write this down. So who is God's model woman in business? This person is a purpose-driven powerhouse. Any purpose-driven powerhouses in the room? She knows that her gifts are straight from God, and she unapologetically uses them to extend her influence far and wide, reaching every corner of the world, creating a lasting value with impact that honors Him. And I'll repeat that because it's long. But there's some key factors in there that I want to pull out during my time. So God's model woman in business is a purpose-driven powerhouse who knows that her gifts are straight from God. She unapologetically uses those gifts to extend her influence far and wide, reaching every corner of the world, and she creates lasting value with impact that honors Him. And so what I want to share with you is 3 keys. 3, just 3. Now, these 3 are loaded. 3 keys to becoming God's model women in business. And it's so interesting, my friend Kayleen Let's give Kayleen another round of applause. Her third point was stewardship. And that's my first point. But from a different perspective. So when we think of stewardship, we think of multiplying what we've been given, yes? Now, I want you to see stewardship, because I'm talking about business here. I want you to see sales as an act of stewardship. The single biggest element, or the first key in business success, is you have to be able to sell. Yeah? God has entrusted us with our talents. He's given us that idea. How many of us have said or heard someone say, oh, God, give me that idea? Yes? Let me see your hands. I like interaction. How many of us have heard someone say or said, God, give me that business? How many of us have heard someone say or have said, God, give me this offer, this product to sell? But when last have you sold that product? How many of us are afraid to sell? Raise your hands. Raise them high. I know. How many of us think that sales is pushy? Pushy, yeah. Or sales is worldly. Or sales is trying to get people's money out of their pocket. Anyone heard that? Sharika Anyue. Sharika no man, can't be. Sales is an act of stewardship. Sales is often misunderstood. Now, when we think of this, the parallel of the talents again. The master did not give his servants his skills, his gifts, that business, that offer, that product, that service to hide. He gave that product to you, that service to you, to multiply what? Multiply it. Yeah? He wants you to produce a return. Yes? It's not about holding on to that product and saying, I pray someone come to me. Or I don't want to sell too much because I don't want people to think I like money too much. Y'all, I've been coaching for 16 years. This is what I hear all the time. But I want you to see that every sale you make is an opportunity to serve someone, meet a need, and multiply the gift that God has entrusted to you. So when you are afraid to sell, I really want you to think of that parable of that talent. Sales is also about accountability. The master in that parable expected a return. He expected a return, y'all. Now, what happened to the person, to the servant who did not give the return? Throw some answers at me. He was called wicked. What else? He was taken away and he is thrown into the outer darkness. Now, darkness to me could mean a lot of things. There was a speaker that I heard, Joe Dudley. Any of you heard of Joe Dudley? Dudley's Cosmetics? I went to a conference, this must have been more than 10 years ago, and he said something that I never forgot. And as I was talking to my husband this morning, he was like, you can say that? I'm like, yeah, because and my people who know me know what I'm about to say. Y'all ready for this bold statement? He said something, and he said, sell or go to hell. Now, when you first hear that statement, it sounds intense, isn't it? It's like, oh my God. But guess what his reference was, y'all? That same parable of the talent. God gifts you that business to multiply it. if you do not multiply it, if you do not steward that business well enough, that offer, that product, that service, he sees you as wicked. He sends you out into the outer darkness. That sounds like hell to me. So when you are hesitant about selling, I want you to remember that. Sell or what? Okay. So the question that I have for you is, what are you hesitating in your business to sell? What are you afraid to sell? And I asked my clients this the other day, how many of us are so used to not making money in the business every day because you are afraid to sell? How many of us have businesses that didn't make $1 today, or didn't make $1 this week, or didn't make $1 this month, and then you come to a business coach like me and say, ain't nobody buying my product, or my business isn't making money? What do you think the first thing I'm going to ask you? Well, I ask if you sold it. Well, I ask if you put it out there. And if you put it out there on Monday, that means that you shouldn't put it out there on Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday. You have a responsibility to sell every single day. Otherwise, y'all know what can happen. All right. So one takeaway from this point on sales and stewardship and multiplying that offer and that service is look at your offers right in your business and ask, how can I steward this offer in a way that serves others and multiplies what I've been given? When we approach sales as stewardship, we move from selling to service, and that's really where our impact begins. And the beautiful thing about it is, sales is a learnable skill. It's not something that some people have and some people don't have. Everyone can learn it. I remember, I've been in business now more than 16 years. When I started my business, I was afraid to sell. I couldn't sell. I didn't know. I ran from it, just like many of us. And then I realized, as Sharika was talking, I don't like to not be broke. And I was at that place where I didn't have a job to fall back on. It was either I make money in my business or I don't eat. And so it was, okay, I have to learn to sell. And I remember one of my mentors saying, listen, you are doing good in business, in terms of the public's eye and what people see and all of that, but you are not selling enough to make this business what it needs to be. And so from then to now, I made a point to make sales something that I focused on in my business. And that has led to success today. It's so interesting. I work with a company overseas. And we're in the middle, we just wrapped up a launch, business launch. And I'm the lead on the team in the sales, selling this program. And in 30 days, just my efforts brought in almost $300,000 in revenue in 30 days. Now, it's so interesting though, when they said, I was called to coach. They called me and they said they wanted me to coach. I didn't expect to sell their products and services. That was not the decision, that was not the plan. But God has other plans for us, right? So they said, Keshelle, you're a coach, you the person who knows the program well, sell it. You lead the sales team or be a part of the sales team. And I was like, God, I know why. I ain't come here to sell nobody products and service. But when I look at the skills that I developed in that time frame, just selling that one product or service, I'm like, God, you have a sense of humor. That was a skill that I was able to now consistently able to apply to my business, and then also really talk about the power of selling. And we'll go into that a little bit more. So principle number 1 is that you want to sell, and sales is an act of stewardship. Principle number 2 is that you want to think beyond your backyard. So when we think of thinking beyond our backyard, I want you to write down scale, expansion. We serve a global God, y'all. Say that to someone. Turn to someone and say, we serve a global God. God is not limited by geography, right? In the Word, Acts says, he told the disciples to go into where? All the earth. That applies to our business too. That applies to our business too. As business women, we are called to think globally. I can't tell you how many times I speak to women in business locally, and they talk about how their business is not growing, or how Bahamians don't want to support their business, or how Bahamians don't want to pay their prices, and I come into prices. And then my question is, well, the Bahamas is not the only market that you have. Why are you focusing on just the Bahamas and getting bent out of shape when the business isn't coming from this one source? I want you to think of your business as global. To date, I have been paid in 5 currencies around the world. 5. When that happened, Hurricane Dorian. When was Hurricane Dorian? 2019. So by that time, I'd already had a successful 6-figure business. I was doing well, happy, the business was growing, but it was predominantly still local, right? So the majority of my business was built, or my experience in business was local up until 2016. I had 1 or 2 clients, but it was predominantly local. When Dorian hit, that was a wake-up call for me. Because my business at that time was corporate training, working for companies, going into companies, training their staff. I still do that. But when Dorian hit, everything shut down. Yeah? So no money was coming to my business. And I have friends around the world already, but that was a moment when I said to myself, I will never let this happen again. I will never be the person who relies on one currency, not one source of income. We like to talk about one source of income, but I'm talking about one currency now. I will never be the person that relies on the Bahamian currency only as income for my business. Since then, I've been paid from clients in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Africa, China. That's not the US. Because I made a point that if God is global, I should be global, my business should be global, my impact should be global, my influence should be global. And let me tell you, we love to say, what is the saying? People are not honored in their hometown. Well, I'll tell you, the person in Australia, they don't know me as Keshelle Kerr or Mr. Kerr's daughter or Paulette Kerr's daughter. They just know me as a professional who charges professional prices. And guess what? They are happy to pay. So when the Bahamas isn't paying, I'm like, okay, y'all can catch up. Y'all can catch up. Someone in Australia is waiting for my invoice. Someone in Australia is waiting for your invoice. Think about that. Think about that. So when you are frustrated or saying to yourself or catch yourself thinking, oh, these Bahamians don't like support nobody business around here. Remind yourself, remember my voice, or remind yourself that God is a global God. So if Bahamians don't want it, there's someone else in the world who does. And so I really want you to ask yourself, what could your business look like if it was beyond borders? Where could you expand to reach more people with your services? And the truth of the matter is, how many of us know at least some person in some part of the world? Let me see your hands, raise your hand. A friend, a family member, an old co-worker, a colleague. Let me see. Most of us know at least one person in some part of the world, yes? When last, or when have we, I should say, have we gone to that person and asked them to promote your product or service in their market? Have you done that? Why? That's how my business got global, y'all. I found people who I knew, who I met in conferences just like this. We meet in conferences and we say, oh, you look nice, you look pretty, your shoes are nice, your earrings are nice, everything is nice. Then we go home and we forget the relationships that we built and don't realize that those relationships are the source of our expansion. And so when I traveled to conferences, wherever they were, I kept those relationships. And I not only kept those relationships, I leveraged those relationships. I'm like, Kayleen, you are in UK? What you got in the UK for me? You have an event coming up in the UK? Listen, I love to speak. In fact, I will fly myself there the first time. You ain't got to fly me there the first time. I just need to get in that market. The first time I spoke in the UK, I paid my own way. It was an opening through a relationship like this, but I paid my own way. Guess what though? I walked out with a cover magazine and a client that paid me almost 3 times more than that plane ticket. And that was the first one. And so I really want you to think, and not just think, act outside of the borders of the Bahamas. Step out, even if it's going to cost you the first time. Because a lot of times we have to make the investment in ourselves and in our business and in our vision first. And then you will begin to reap the rewards. And so I really encourage you to think deeper and bigger and consider one way you can expand your reach. So, and I gave you the one way so far. There's a lot of ways. Sharika talked about my online business lab. You can do it without knowing anybody and just having the right online tools. That's one way. But the faster way is through people. Think of someone you know in some part of the world and just reach out to them today, tomorrow, Monday, and ask them, listen, hey, I really want to get my business in Canada. Can we talk about that? And you'll be amazed at how the opportunities begin to expand. Who's going to do that? Who's going to reach out to someone they know outside of this country and build that business now, globally? Only 2 people say yes. Okay, let me see those 2 people. Raise your hands. Listen, I could talk about global business for the rest of the time, so let me go on. Principle number 3. You want to know your worth and price it for profit. We're talking about God's model women in business, right? So principle number 1 was what? Stewardship and sales, right? Because we think of sales as worldly. No, sales is biblical. Principle number 2 is what? Thinking beyond, which is scale. Scaling your business and expanding. And that is biblical. Because we like to make these words very secular. Scaling is people see that as a secular word. It's not. Scaling globally, that's a kingdom word. Principle number 3 is know your worth, price for profit, and that's really about sustainability. Sustainability, right? That's about value. Now, sustainability is about creating lasting value. Keyword there is lasting. Building your business so that it endures. Say endures. Now, why endures? How many of us have seen a purpose-driven woman sold out to God, speaking in tongues, say they started business today, and then 2 years later you ask where the business is? Child, that wasn't for me. God didn't call me. God didn't call me to that. Anyone seen that? I don't even know one in here. Oh, it's you? Okay, she's telling on herself. Isaiah 48 and 17 says, I am the Lord your God, who teaches you how to, y'all know it, say it, profit. Y'all know profit in the Bible? Y'all know God teaches profitability? Y'all know God wants us to profit? Now, I can go on profit, and that's a whole other step. I won't even go there. That's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is, in order for us to profit, we have to be priced accordingly. Now, when we talk about pricing again, we think that that's a worldly word or a secular word. Pricing is a spiritual principle, just like the others that I mentioned. When you undervalue, meaning, I know this price should be more, but I am not going to charge more because what? People may not want it. People may not pay for it. You may feel uncomfortable charging it. I just want to help the poor. I just want to help people. They're good. But if you are not priced for profit, you will not be in business long enough to fulfill the purpose God has for you. A lot of us think that it's either or. We have to serve our purpose or be profitable. How many of us have thought that at least one time? I have. Back in the day. But if you undervalue your services, you're not only affecting your business's ability to thrive, but here's what you're also doing, y'all. You are also indirectly communicating a lack of confidence in the worth of what God has given you. You, in essence, are telling God, I'm confident in what you give me. I'm not confident in the value that you've placed on this product, this service, this business. I'm not confident in that. So guess what? I'm just going to price it as low as I could just to be able to make some sales. And being able to make some sales is good because we want to sell. But if you've been in business for a long time and you're still looking around and saying, well, I'm selling, but where the money going? It's probably because you're not priced correctly. You're not priced for profit. I had a client last month. She reached out to me. She's a Bahamian client. She was about to launch a brick and mortar store. And she reached out, and I gave her my price. And she's like, boy, Keshelle, I'm like, okay, it's up to you, I mean, that's the price. And she said, okay, I'm not ready for that price. So I said, okay, I know you mean your friends. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I said, I will charge you this just for you to get one thing from me. And that one thing is, I really want to sit down with you to just look at your pricing. And she was like, okay, I could do that. She sent the money, we sat down. And when we went through the numbers, so she had a pricing already. She was just wanting me to get some ideas. We went through the spreadsheet of, all of the numbers that she needed to operate her business, the monthly amount of money she needed each month. And then we looked at, okay, if you need $13,000 a month and you expect this amount of clients each month, your capacity can only serve this amount of clients, at least right now, your pricing should be this. It's not even feelings. It's not even how I feel about it. The math told us that if you need to make this in business in order to profit, and you have 10 clients, you should be pricing it minimally this. Y'all follow me? And so we looked at the numbers. She's like, Jesus, Keshelle. I said, this is what the math say. The price that she had initially wrote down was half that. Now, the interesting thing about it is you can get away with that for a while, but she was going into a brick and mortar company. So she was going to put thousands of dollars into a store, a brick and mortar store, outfit that entire store with fabulous equipment, make it look pretty, all of the stuff that we like to look at, the external stuff. And then from day one, she was losing. And if she never stopped to look at the prices, she probably wouldn't have realized that. She would have thought, oh, I need to market more. Most of the times, you don't need to market more. Most of the times, your price just needs to be higher. Remember the $300,000 in sales in 30 days? How many people you think I sold to? Let me pull it up, actually. I have the number, but I don't remember the actual. I have the total number of sales, but I want to pull up. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Throw some guesses at me. 3? I like 3.
10.
Oh, it's not going to show me. It's not going to show me. The internet is not pulling on. Oh, my phone is far. Okay, so it was the total price. So let me give you the bigger picture. I was one of the persons on the team that sold. In 30 days, the company made close to $1 million in sales. Okay? I brought in about $300,000 of that. I would say probably 800 and something thousand in terms of final numbers. So that brought, for the total numbers, that brought in 35 people. 35 people brought in almost $1 million in sales. 35. My portion of that was about 7, 8 people. And that 7, 8 people was $300,000. What do you think is what do you think is the reason for those big numbers? It's not volume. It's price. The offer that I was selling was from $18,000 to $30,000. People could have chosen $18,000 to $30,000. We don't need to struggle to fill our rooms or struggle to sell hundreds of offers. If we price right, Sharika, you put your head down there. Sharika and I be on this lot plenty times. If we priced right. In fact, I'm going to say this, and Sharika know I love her. The work that happens here, there's no reason that Sharika shouldn't be charging at least $500 for this conference. At least. When you go to Woman Evolve, how much are they paying? 500, right? The anointing on Sharika is no different. No different. No different. But we are pricing too low. And again, we look at it as, oh, I'm not gonna help everybody. You're not called to everybody. And guess what? If you are profitable, you can still help people. You would be profitable, and then you can say, okay, I am in overflow. I am profitable, so I can afford to give you a scholarship. I can afford to sponsor folks into my programs. But many of us, and I've been there, so I'm not talking anything that a lesson that I've not learned. I have been there when I have done events or had programs, and I look back and I'm like, geez, I gotta take money out of my own pocket to pay for it. That's not what kingdom model women, business women, whatever what it's called now, God's model women are supposed to do. God wants us to profit. He says that He is teaching us to profit. And so I really want us to, the question that I have for you is, does your pricing reflect the value of what you bring to the table? And are you setting yourself up for a business that lasts? Remember that enduring again? Because again, we can price the way we feel. But then 2 years, 3 years down the road, when you feel like, boy, I can't do this anymore, you are not living up to the purpose God has for you. Purpose requires money. And God has given you the power to get wealth through your business. And if the prices that you have is not profiting you and profitable, you cannot fuel yourself. You cannot serve the kingdom. You cannot give the checks to the church. God wants us to give $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 checks to the church. And if we cannot do it, and that's my goal, like I want to give that huge check to the church. But if our pricing isn't moving in the direction where we can be a true financial blessing to the people of God and to the kingdom of God, you are, again, not stewarding the business that God has placed in you. And one last thing I would say, as your business grows and evolves, your pricing should grow and evolve. Right? So if you're in business for 10 years and you're still charging the prices that you charged 10 years ago, when everything has gone up, who is that serving? Who is that serving? I like to tell people yesterday's price, if you come to me, yesterday's price is never today's price. Never, ever, ever. So the more you invest in your business, you want to make sure the prices are reflective of that. So take some time. That's the signing. I just press it. I wrap it up now. So take some time this week, to review your pricing. Ask yourself if it's aligned with the value that you provide and the impact that you want to create. Remember that a business that honors God must also honor its own sustainability. And so in closing, my mouth is big enough, I think. Probably battery up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in closing, here's the bottom line. You have a calling. God has given you that gift. It is time to show up for that gift. Steward what you've been given through your business. Expand beyond the borders, because our God is a global God, and own your values. Own your value, because you have to be able to become profitable. So these are not just business principles, they are kingdom principles. Say kingdom principles.
Kingdom principles.
And so as kingdom women, as God's model women in business, we are not just here to make a living. We are here to make an impact. We are here to make a difference. And in order to do that, we must make sure sell as an act of stewardship. We must expand and scale beyond our borders, and we must be able to price for profit so we can be sustainable, and so that sustainability can lead to us fulfilling our purpose for the long haul. Now go out there and do something powerful. Thank you.